The transfer window is now open, and this is one player each Premier League club should sign this January. Starting off with Arsenal, this one's very easy. It's a striker, and I imagine they'll chase Ivan Toney, but if they can't get him or he's too expensive, Dominic Solanke from Bournemouth and Victor Gyökeres from Sporting Lisbon are also very good options. All three of them have very good physical profiles, they facilitate for the players around them, and most importantly, they're very good goal scorers. Aston Villa is next, and on paper, Aston Villa's best 11 is very good and very hard to upgrade whilst being realistic. But in my opinion, and I've seen it more so in recent weeks, Diego Carlos is a bit of a weak link on that side, and I'd look to replace him. Trevor Chalobah is a young, homegrown, cheap, versatile option who looks on his way out of Chelsea, but my pick will be Fulham's Tosin Adarabioyo, a very good ball player and an absolute behemoth physically. Bournemouth are a little bit like Villa at the minute. Their squad is set and it's working under the manager. I feel if Solanke leaves, you need to replace him, but I feel left back is the only hole in their squad right now. Ian Maatsen looks to be on his way out of Chelsea, so he'd be my pick, and I think if Bournemouth could pull this signing off, it would be phenomenal. Brentford will most likely lose Ivan Toney, and I do think the money they get from him needs to be put towards getting a replacement. And there's a lot of good, cheap, realistic options out there. Serhou Guirassy from Stuttgart, Simon Banza from Braga, Mehdi Taremi from Porto, and maybe even Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal. Banza and Guirassy are my picks because they're most similar to Ivan Toney, and Brentford can continue to play the way they did under Toney with either striker. Brighton, I think, need a consistent face at right back, and I would go with either Benfica's Alexander Ba or Arnar Martinez from Girona. Burnley need a Premier League veteran. Their recruitment strategy in the summer was anyone under the age of 23, and we've all seen it hasn't worked. So Burnley need to copy Luton a little bit and get in a couple of players that have been there and done it in the Premier League. I haven't got a specific name, but anyone that's Premier League proven will do. Chelsea have the second highest XG this season and have the second most amount of big chances missed, so it's obvious they need a striker. Like Arsenal, I'd go for Ivan Toney, but both Solanke and Gyökeres are very good options as well. Crystal Palace have needed a right back for about 3 years now, and I love Joel Ward, but I think his replacement is due. Anytime I've watched him as a youngster or even this season with Birmingham, Ethan Laird has impressed me, and he would be a really cheap, smart young option. Speaking of smart signings, Amar Dedic from RB Salzburg, if you don't know, get to know, he would be a very good pickup as well. And of course, when we're talking about Crystal Palace right backs, we have to mention Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I don't think it's realistic, but there's always a chance. Post-edit recording, I forgot to intro Everton. Their team suits their system and Dyche perfectly. If I had to replace anyone in the squad, I'd upgrade Abdoulaye Doucouré. Anytime I watch Bologna, Scotsman Lewis Ferguson has always impressed me. And I think he'd suit Doucouré's role and Dyche's system very well. He's great in the air, he's strong, he works hard, and he's good on the ball. Can play in a 3 in midfield or as a second striker like Doucouré, and I don't think he's going to cost a lot either. Fulham will have to replace João Palhinha this January because I do think he's on his way out. But his replacement is already in the Premier League and very gettable, and that's Vinicius Souza from Sheffield United. Souza is brilliant defensively and a superb ball winner, just like Palhinha, so the signing makes a lot of sense. Liverpool is really tough, and I'm still stuck on it. I still think they need a number 6, but Endo has been good. I feel they need a left back, but Joe Gomez, to be fair to him, has filled in well there. And Andy Robertson, you don't want to give up on him too soon. And I feel if they had a clinical finisher, it would take them to another level. But what happens to Darwizzi? I think the most necessary at the minute is probably a striker, but I don't think that's realistic. I don't think Liverpool will go out and sign a striker. If it's a striker, surprise, surprise, I'd go with Toney. If it's a 6, I'd go with Palhinha or Mats Wijfer from Feyenoord. And if it's a left back thereafter, I'd go with Anthony Robinson from Fulham. Luton will have to replace Tom Lockyer, so I dip down to the Championship because that's where Luton do their business, and I'd pick up Joe Rodon from Leeds. Man City are Man City, they hardly ever need anyone, and I've seen people saying they'd sign Alphonso Davies or a natural left back. I wouldn't. I don't think Alphonso Davies is a good signing for City at all, and I think Gvardiol and Ake are a very good cover on that left hand side. But one thing I've noticed this season is defensively, Rodri is very outnumbered sometimes, and that's down to the midfield threes that City go with. So I would sign a box-to-box midfielder who is comfortable in every single phase of the pitch, who is good defensively and can help out Rodri, especially in transition. That seems a bit harsh because I do think Kovacic and Nunez are good options, but Man City are the kings of upgrading players when they don't really need to be upgraded. I'm not sure how realistic this is for January, but Douglas Luiz and Bruno Guimaraes, in my opinion, would be superb options. But if I was to pick one that would be semi-realistic, it would be João Neves from Benfica. An unbelievable talent. Man United are the total opposite to Man City in every single sense, and I don't think Man United are going to spend a penny, and I don't think we're going to be able to spend a penny in January. So it's going to be a striker that's going to be brought in either on a very low price or on a loan. So of the choices available, Choupo-Moting is probably going to be the one that I'd pick. And what's even funnier, he is the best option of the options available. Newcastle need a right winger or a stopgap defensive midfielder. I think Calvin Phillips is very attainable for Newcastle and he would be a very good option as well. But I would go to Dortmund and see about Karim Adeyemi or Daniel Malin for that right wing spot, and both of them can cover up front as well. And if I was Newcastle and I could only pick one, I would probably go with a right winger. Nottingham Forest could probably do with maybe another centre back and potentially a better left back, but in my opinion, Matt Turner and Vlachodimos in goal are nowhere near good enough, so I definitely get a goalkeeper. And there's a lot of very good, young, cheap options out there. Albon Lafont from Nantes is a very good option, and Michel Di Gregorio from Monza is also a very good keeper. Sheffield United need a reliable striker. Kiefer Moore and Danny Ings are the fallen soldiers and can't get a game for their team, so I'd look at both of those. Kiefer Moore especially is very good in the air and can actually be a good facilitator for someone like Cameron Archer. But Danny Ings is a Premier League proven goal scorer, so either one of those will do. I did think Chris Wilder's side needed a left back, and if they were to go for anyone, I think Ben Johnson from West Ham would be a good option. Tottenham are on the verge of signing Genoa centre-back Radu Dragusin, good player by the way, so there is no point mentioning him or another centre-back. So I think another midfielder is necessary, and this player wouldn't be my ideal choice, but he's been linked to the club recently, so I'm going to go with Conor Gallagher. For West Ham, I'm probably going for Eddie Nketiah, and the reason I'm going for it is because I think it's only doable right now. If Arsenal sign Tony or another striker, Nketiah will look for a move out, and I think he'd want to stay in London, and West Ham is a good move for both West Ham and him. I'm not sure if it's the most necessary for West Ham at the minute, but I do think it'd be a good signing. Wolves are like West Ham, Aston Villa, Bournemouth and Everton. Their team suits their football, but I think if I was to upgrade anyone, and this is a little bit harsh, it would probably be Jose Sa in goal. And I go with the same names I mentioned from Nottingham Forest, which are Di Gregorio from Monza and Albon Lafont from Nantes. Let me know what you think of my selections and what player are you signing for each Premier League club.